So recording is on. We are live for this SUSE QE Tools workshop. Let me share myself. We planned for today. So last week we had the roadmap presentation, and today we want to do lightning talks. And actually we have an Etherpad document. We have an intro planned by Liv. However, I don't see Liv here. Fine. So I will just, I'm the one doing the intro now, which is that I want to introduce Sebastian Schlatt for the topic of test catalog, and after that I would like to show you something about written on failure ratio. If any one of you feels like in the next 5 to 10 minutes to submit another lightning talk, feel welcome to do so. As you can see, we have lots available, so you can tell us about it. But first, then over to Sebastian. So Sebastian, this is your presentation. Take it away.
Hi guys. Yeah, thanks a lot. So yeah, this is about the test catalog. Some of you for sure are not on the QA mailing list. So just to rephrase the initial email which I sent like more than a month ago or something like this, the idea is to just answer a simple, in theory, a simple question of what kind of test coverage we have. Yes, so what we test and what kind of tests we have. If you could just scroll down, Oli. Yeah, so this is nothing new, right? The thing has been discussed for long. The thing has we try to implement this in various ways, and people attach to this a lot of different meanings and understandings, right? So I really want to have it like very simple and stupid, as simple as possible, and go with like the simplest idea possible. So think of it as like a bare test catalog, right? Like really just a test catalog, yes? I even copy pasted here the meaning of catalog, right? It's a complete list of items, right? Nothing really surprising there. And I actually made it on purpose, simply because, when we start discussing that, people come up with various use cases, various ideas, what they understand and what they would like to achieve. Like, for instance, test runs and what environment we tested against and things like this, right? And OpenQA, as it is, answers a lot of those questions, maybe not in the way some people like to see it. Maybe, people would like to see it a little bit more like, test rail approach, at least those who are like, in the project management roles. So I actually on purpose navigated in a way that I would like to keep it very simple and very stupid, and I would like to simply talk about the test catalog, only test catalog, for the very simple reason that this should help us, the engineers, to maintain that test data, test catalog in very simple way, right? So how we could basically organize the test code, the PM test files, with certain descriptions, maybe annotations, maybe something like this, organized in a certain structure. So eventually we can just simply produce the test catalog automatically by running a script or as something as simple as that. That would be by now already possible because we have the headers of our PM files, and some people pay a little bit more attention to that. Some people pay less attention to that. So depends on the person, on the team. People have like a little bit different understanding of that. But the initial take on this, even looking at your reply, Oli, when you mentioned, for instance, the reports could be generated with the scripts, right?
Mm-hmm.
And things like this. I on purpose suggest to narrow it down, forget about this at this point of time, and focus only on producing very simple test catalogs. So kind of like a static data, which we would kind of automatically obtain from all the PM files at this point of time. So something like we do, for instance, in the LTP code, right? Something like this is already possible and has been possible there already for quite quite a while, right? So I see it like focusing on SUSE test specification 1.0, and might sound like a little bit heavy, but I think we could sit down in a bigger group of people and prepare this kind of like a specification for such a test description, which we would like to start adding to our PM test files, right? So we would be adding this to the source code in agreed way with annotations that we agree as we agree. So we would be, as I mentioned, be able to generate the test catalog automatically, and then we could consider also certain GitHub checks for compliance with this specification. And of course, I'm putting this 1.0 because I assume that over the time we might want to add something there, like yet another field, yet another area which we would like to add and iterate over it. Yes. So that's the basic idea. Um, and seeing the answers from some of you in the email threads, I would really encourage us to think about this in a very, very simple way as test catalog, and only that. And only if we have this agreed and we start adding it to the test code, we could just see, for instance, how to reuse some of the Oli scripts on, how to generate reports and how to stitch certain things together, how to go about, for instance, stitching the static test data, test catalog with, for instance, test runs and maybe test definitions, YAML job groups and stuff like this, if that's even needed, right? But I would just simply start from that, and basically that's it. Over to you, Oli.
Okay, cool. So one question I have for clarification. Did I understand it correctly that the focus for now is on the test, on the OpenQA test modules, like the files in
Correct.
authorins distro.pm, like
Correct.
Firefox.pm and so.
I already start playing around with how we could do that, for LTP or specifically for the NFS, because NFS tests are being
Okay.
covered in many places with
Yeah.
native OpenQA PM files, but also with, for instance, LTP test code, but also XFS test code. So for that reasons, I start toying with it. If it would be feasible and if it wouldn't be overkill to actually try to obtain that data altogether from from what we have. But yeah, we might just settle for something simple. So for now, just the PM files, and we see how that actually plays for us.
Right. And Jose mentioned something that another extension point is because you're actually in your naming you said test specification as in general, but the starting point is OpenQA, meaning automated tests, and with the potential to send to all kinds of manual testers, right?
Absolutely, absolutely. I mean, this is more about how to also make it easy for us, right? So we don't want to, because we already have this test data somewhere in the Confluence. Some teams, as far as I remember, keep it under the GitLab and places like this. And we put some effort in preparing this test data, test catalog for project managers mostly. So just how to add it to the code so we could actually produce it. But that doesn't stop anyone from describing manual tests in the same way. And of course, with the test data like that, we could and perhaps we should consider if anyone will wish to import such data to any test management system. So when preparing this test specification 1.0, we should perhaps take into consideration what such tools require. So we would have like robust enough specification for various use cases later on.
Okay, cool. Any other questions, Christian? Like not right now. So then actually let me go to the next topic, which would be something that I would like to show you, which is count failure ratio. How that looks like. Here. Yeah. So you might already know a tool which is called retry. So what retry does is you can retry command until it succeeds. So let's try that. Retry true returns immediately because true just worked. Retrying false will retry up to 3 times by default with a sleeping time in between of 3 seconds. So this is when, and then afterwards you can see the exit code is 1 because false actually never succeeds. For testing purposes, I wrote a small simulator of something that is like sporadically passing or failing. And so try that out. The fail once every third call command. And if I call that, then you can see that sometimes it works and sometimes it doesn't. So exactly how it should. So here you can example that worked after one retry. Retry is part of Tumbleweed. It's also part of Leap, and the the latest snapshots of Tumbleweed also include another tool which is coming from the same repository, which is called count fail ratio. Count fail ratio, especially, we talked about testing, so especially when talking about testing, maybe trying to investigate something, then you encounter things like this ugly sporadic failure. And if you try out count fail ratio on that, then you can see what it does. It reruns that multiple times, by default 20 runs. And then afterwards, it just counts how many times it was running, the amount of failures, and it also computes you the fail ratio with a confidence interval. Additionally, it gives you timing information. So, by running that multiple times, we can see it takes 64 plus minus 10 milliseconds, the default value. Let's try that again. Maybe with 30 runs, if you want to, give it a longer test, and then you can see that the fail ratio is, well, that really meets what we expected for a command which is called fail once every third run, because in 33.33 cases it actually fails, and in the other case it just succeeds. Additionally, that command can be tweaked. You can see here with environment variables, so you can tweak that. You can also let's just try that out one more time. If you actually, let's say you encountered sporadic failure in any kind of program, could be an OpenUA test code, could be anything else, and you already knew that, okay, and before it was like failing every third time, and now I applied a fix. So is the fix valid? And so how would you try out your command? Let's say that the new name of the application is now true, so command which just always succeeds. And let's say normally you would run something like, I don't know, on time, and you would do that, and then, well, there was no failure. So was your fix effective? You can't know that, because in before it was also just failing every third time. So maybe let's try 3 runs. And if you do that, then, well, there's still no failures. The fail ratio is certainly 0 because that's what we measured, but there is this additional message which patient. There were no failures, but if you follow a so-called simple rule from statistics, which is rule of 3, you can compute a failure probability, and the failure probability is, something in the range of 100%. So you just can't be right. I mean, this won't tell you if this actually works. If you run that 30 times, guess what this computes as the failure probability? The failure probability is 10%, because we ran it 30 times, it didn't fail in any case. What does that mean? Well, there had been no failures observed, so you can be there's still a chance of about 10% that you are actually wrong with the assumption that this would never fail. Of course, if we would run that many more times, like if I would run that for like 300 times, then we would end up with a computer failure probability of 1%. So, you can already follow the simple rule how that comes into fruition. And the result here will be that well, there's still a chance of 1% that you're wrong with the assumption that this is stable, because in the end it could still fail. I will abort because I guess everybody of you will understand what it will be. So try it out. There's retry and there is a count fail ratio. There's one still for Leap, but for Tumbleweed, that's already there. And if you go to softwareOpenSUSE.org and then look up retry, then we will also find the package from the development group. That's it. Any questions about that? Nope. Like it. So I can close that off again. There was no other presentation suggested here. So actually our Lightning talk was finished in a Lightning way, which is fine. So I can just tell you that what we have planned for the next week. For the next week, I would like to talk with you about what are acceptance criteria, because actually I think there's a pretty good definition for what acceptance criteria are when somebody writes them in a ticket or in a task or in a kind of contract. When you say like, then we can consider something finished. And a little spoiler here, no acceptance criteria are not tasked. So I'd like to talk with you about what we use in our ticket templates, maybe discuss with you some of our experiences. Maybe we can establish some better best practices. With that, the workshop session is finished. So thank you all for attending. Thank you, Sebastian, for contributing, and I hope to see you again next time. Bye.